Hello. Welcome back to LTC Heroes Live by Experience Care. My name is Peter Murphy Lewis. I'm your host. We are at the Kentucky Healthcare Convention in Louisville. I'm excited because I'm talking to Dalyn Miller and to Melissa Larmou. They are the division vice presidents at Trilogy Health Services. Dalyn, let's start with you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I gave you a little bit of warning. I'm going to jump all around. I love interviewing long-term care leaders. And this is my first time in Kentucky. Who was one of the first people that you're like, I've never met this person in person, and I'm excited to meet him at Louisville, or an old friend that you haven't seen in a year that you want to go up and give a hug to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would think first you. It's been a pleasure meeting you first in person. But I actually have seen many colleagues. I ran into Mark Hurst, who I know from a long time ago, so ran into him. It was nice seeing him. But there's a lot of friendly faces. It's such a close community. We're a family. So it's just nice to connect not only with my teams, but with folks I've seen in the past who I've worked with. So it's been great.
Before we pass over to Melissa, how long have you two been working together, and how would you describe her as a long-term care leader?
That's a great question.
We're coming in fast.
We for sure. So we've actually worked together for close to a year now. She actually showed me the ropes to my role now, so I really appreciate that. But I have worked with Trilogy for 5 years.
Oh, perfect. And Melissa, tell me how long you've been at Trilogy and what's your specific role? How long you've been doing that?
I've been at Trilogy for 16 years, and my role is the division vice president for our South Kentucky division, so part of the Kentucky market. And Dalyn has the other half of the Kentucky market. And I've been in this role since 2014.
And tell me about your first day in long-term care. Did you start off as a CNA? Was your first day in long-term care because you had to take a grandparent into long-term care? What do you remember when you're like, oh, now I understand what this and maybe
So now I jumped in feet first. I had no experience in long-term care. My background was actually law. So I worked in healthcare law and went in healthcare administration and got my master's and wanted to go into long-term care specifically because of my experience in the law firm. And so I jumped in feet first as an administrator. And
what specifically about your experience in the law firm made you want to work in long-term care?
So getting to know the clients, we represented long-term care facilities, and just getting to know them, going to the facilities, getting to meet the residents, and just interacting with them, and knowing that we can make the difference in the lives of those seniors every single day just pulled at my heartstrings. And I was like, this is the path I want to go. Going down the law path was not what I wanted to do.
And Dalyn, I know you've already mentioned kind of Melissa trained you. Who, looking back at how you got into long-term care, who would you point out as being a mentor and be like, this person helped me understand long-term care, helped me fall in love with long-term care?
So originally when I was in college, I think at the time, most nurses, at least at that period of time, were like, hey, you want to go to the hospital? That was kind of like, that's the premier, place to be. I didn't start there. I started in long-term care. And, one nurse that really pops out for me that really helped me in my career, because when I came out, I was really green. I mean, you know what you know in school, but then real world hitting the floor, it was a lot different. So Terry Saul was an excellent nurse that I worked with. She showed me so many things. She encouraged me, pushed me, challenged me. So she was a person that really mentored me through it. And when I started there, actually, at first, I thought, okay, I'll go to the hospital at some point. I'll start here. This will be a good base. I never left. I love it. So here I am still almost 20 years later.
And what was your role when COVID hit? Where were you? What hat were you wearing March 2020?
So I was actually at that time, I was working in clinical operations. So that was supporting several campuses and support personnel and within divisions and helping those leaders through and putting policies into place and making sure everything was as controlled as it could be for that time.
And I find that a lot of times there's talk at conventions or even in national media, like what would we do differently or what we learned. But my question is not about what we learned about long-term care. What did you learn about yourself going through COVID as either a family man or as an employee or as a leader? Maybe you see the world differently, or you interact differently, or you lead differently.
Yeah, definitely. I think for most of us, and I know for myself, just how resilient and perseverant that we are as human beings. I think all of us, we put in so much time and effort, and from the campus level, just being able to witness what all of those folks did to keep our residents safe and protect them. It was amazing. But I would definitely say resiliency and perseverance.
Melissa, I want to transition into kind of a little bit about Trilogy. Will you tell me a little bit why it's unique? If you had a 25-year-old who's saying, you know what, I'm ready for a job shift, I'm going to look somewhere else, why would you tell them, come look at us? We're interested. We want you.
Because we have lots of growth opportunity within our company for any position. We have college opportunities where they can get degrees. We have apprenticeship programs where they can continue to grow through those programs. We have clinical programs where they can start out as a non-certified and work all the way up to having a nursing degree. So we offer quite a lot of opportunities for any individual that comes to Trilogy.
Are there any more intangible items that make you stand out? Like, if you had to move with your family to another place, you're like, I'm going to miss this intangible at Trilogy, either the way our leaders run team meetings or the way we send each other sassy texts whenever our football team's losing a game. What is something intangible that you're like, wow, that Trilogy's part of me?
The family, the relationships that we develop, and what is a strong bond in Trilogy. And it's just one of the firm foundations and what it was founded on. And that's truly valuing the employee and that relationship. It's important across the board in every position. It doesn't matter. And when we truly say there's no egos in our company, there's not. It's just one big family, and we support each other and we have each other's back.
I want to ask you, and I'll ask you afterwards as well, Dalyn, but Melissa, I want you to take off your humble hat. And what I mean by that is I want you to brag about something that you feel really proud of in the last year or two. And the reason being, just, for the listeners or for your family or friends, it's because I think young people want to work with amazing leaders that are passionate about values and things that make a difference. What's something you've made a difference? You're like, man, I haven't told a lot of people, but this is cool. I hired the right person, or I did something good.
I think just being there every day for the teams and supporting them. And like Dalyn just spoke to a minute ago, getting our teams through COVID, and as we walked through it together. It was hand in hand, night after night, day after day, moment by moment, and we all walked through it together. But over the last couple of years, I would definitely say just the strength that everybody has shown and that we've all shown, just leading each other through these last couple of years.
How about you, Dalyn? Anything that take your humble hat off and that you're like, yeah, I haven't told too many people, but I'm really proud about this day, or some metric, or some hire?
Yeah, sure. So I think Melissa summed it up really well. That was a great answer. For me, I would say really, really proud of the two AITs that we hired, administrator in training for our division. They both just graduated, Sydney Bright, April Caswell. So I'm looking so forward to their career growth, getting them placed as administrators, and then career path on up. So I'm really happy and proud about that, because I got to select them. So yeah, I'm gonna say that I feel good about that.
Nice. As we wrap up, I kind of want to ask you. I want to ask you how long-term care, and I'm asking you to be a little bit more vulnerable, how long-term care has changed who you are as a human being. I know becoming a CNA, I came in touch with the fact that I didn't realize this until I became a CNA, that I felt like I was paying back to the CNAs who took care of my grandparents with dementia. And since then, it has changed the way that I look at front-long caregivers. How has working in long-term care changed you when you go home, Dalyn?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, because I think there's two sides to it. It's the folks that we impact from a staffing standpoint, from a leadership standpoint. Love to see those folks grow and how that's changed them throughout the course of this journey. But then from a resident standpoint too, and this is hard because I definitely don't want to get emotional and keep it together, but we get to take that home, that we provide such great care for them and keep them safe, especially through the vulnerable time we've been through the last few years. So I'm just so proud of that. I think just coming home at the end of the day, knowing that it's at times, especially the last few years, it was hard to sleep some nights, but we made it through, and here we are today. So yeah, proud of that.
Thanks for Dalyn. Just so you know, we don't have to keep it together on this podcast. Our slogan our slogan is "Let's do care together better." But I've cried on this podcast many times. And how about you, Melissa? How's it changed you?
just slowing down.
Ooh,
Slowing down.
that's the first time I've heard that.
Slowing
That's
down
good.
and recognizing, just take one day at a time, because it could be gone in the instant. And we've seen that. We've learned that firsthand these last couple years, even more so. We know it in the long-term care industry because we watch them age. We lose our seniors that we take care of and we get very, very close to. But just recently, it's been slow down and take your time and just enjoy it one moment at the time.
I love the answer and haven't heard it. A lot of times at conventions, I try to keep the interviews interesting for me as well. So I'm always changing the format. And your answer reminds me of a question that I always ask. I won't ask you because you kind of answered it. And I usually ask people the following: if you could put anything on one giant billboard on the outside of a big city that thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people would drive by and see every day and read it, what would you put up there and why? And I kind of like it. Slow down.
Slow down.
Thank you both for joining LTC Heroes. Anything you'd like to add, Dalyn?
I don't know. No, I think she summed it up well with just slowing down.
Yeah, that was kind of drop the mic,
It
and
really
you and I
was.
should
Yeah,
get
I'm
out
not
of the
even
way.
Yep, leaving it. Yep.
Thank you all for joining me. It's
Thank
so
you.
great to meet you.
Appreciate you.